Hello and welcome to the 1990 series. My name's Amanda O'Shea, the loving life coach from the Serendipity experience. And I have with me today the lovely Samantha Burge from the Sunshine Coast, Clacton-on-Sea in Essex. Hey Sam, how you doing?
Hi Amanda, I'm very well. How are you, my darling?
I'm good, thank you. Is it sunny there today?
It was, but yeah, the sun is going down, and yes, it's cold, very cold. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's that time of year now, right? It's
yeah,
that
absolutely.
time of year. Sam, it was a pleasure to reconnect with you, which is what called this little talk. This year when you came on the Love and Clarity retreat, and I think we first met about 35 years ago. Like that would have been the first time that we first met,
Absolutely.
and so sort of old friend, old sort of. We never went to the same school, but we had friends that went to different schools, and then I got to know you, I suppose, between that sort of 10 years or 12 years, between the ages of 15 and 27, where we were all growing up and off traveling and working abroad and having babies and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had my baby quite young out of the group. Um, I met you through Lisa Claydon and Juanita. Yeah, and I think that one of the last meetings we had was when I was heavily pregnant with Oliver, and we met for Juanita's birthday in Camden. So yeah, a great bunch of girls, and the really lovely thing is that you're all still connected now. Yeah, so that's a blessing, and I feel blessed to have reconnected with you on that retreat. By just a little link that was on Facebook, the love and clarity thing jumped out at me, and then that brought me back to you. That you was the leader within that. So yeah, it was amazing.
It's funny, isn't it? That's the whole serendipityness that you
Absolutely.
signed up for. I love that you signed up for a retreat, not really knowing, and then realizing like,
My
so
God.
that was really nice, and it was nice for me to have you in the circle, as it were, because there was like 26 of us or something down there.
Yeah, it was a big group, and all very different. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing, very good. And it was the first time actually that I had done something completely on my own. So from when I turned 50 in January, it was something that I'd sort of said to myself that I wanted to come, but I wanted to come on my own so that I could be completely free to be open to whatever it was I was going to learn, whatever it was I wanted to talk about. And it wasn't until actually probably a week or so before I got to the retreat that I even knew that the three principles were involved. I wasn't sure really what I was coming to. I kept it purposely like that, but what a life-changing experience it was for me, definitely.
I remember sort of, it's so lovely to see those insights kind of happen. You see people kind of wake up to something, and that doesn't happen to everybody, that they come to a tree and have what they would call like a transformation or a life change.
Yeah,
But when it happened, for me in that way, that I heard something where I kind of like was like, oh my God. So
yeah.
I would love you to share, when you say, like, okay, so it was helpful and you had what you'd call, a bit of a shift. How has that been helpful? What's better, or how's it changed for?
Well, for me, it was there was many times of sitting around in that beautiful. I mean, the hidden paradise is just something to behold, isn't it? It's the most beautiful setting to have been in. Um, but to have been sitting around in our group and discussing, whatever it was that we was open to discuss. I think for me, I've always felt, I'm a twin. My parents didn't know they was having me until the day before. So my mum's, that when she went to the doctors, the two heartbeats that they could hear was, she thought hers and the baby's, and it turned out she was having two babies. And I was the second twin. And then, as you know, my sister was very ill. My mum spent a long time with her, and I always sort of felt a bit of an outsider. Um, and that's kind of what I brought to the group or to the retreat with me. And the fact that I was I just turned 50. And I think for a lot of women, you know, this perimenopause, menopause, this whole shift that you go through as a maturing woman isn't really spoken about. And, you know, there was parts leading up to me being 50 that I thought I was going mad, that I've always felt there was something sort of like a bit, I was a little bit different to everybody else, very outspoken, you know, I don't like to see things that aren't right, fair for people. And I would always be that person that would speak out. So for me, when I came to the retreat, I came with quite a lot on my shoulders of feeling guilty about who I was, I suppose, as a person. And I also had Oliver very young. Both my children had just left home. Lily's at university. Oliver was buying his own property. Things weren't great in my marriage. And I really wanted to come and clear my head, and sort of, we talked about reconnecting with me, but what I found was I found me. And I felt after leaving that retreat that I wasn't that bad. And how it's helped me is I just look and think about things completely differently than I did before I came. And I can only attribute that to the things that I learned within that group, from everybody within that group, and you. So much from you, Amanda. You are just such a character to behold. I mean, you know, like a guru, really. Everything that you said made perfect sense to me, but you know, nobody'd ever kind of said it in the way that you'd said it before. You made it very simple to understand, and that helped me immensely.
Oh, bless you. And you know, and it's funny, isn't it, because we have that term. It makes me laugh, that guru, because it's hearing it for the first time, wherever you would have heard that first time. And it's lovely that it happened to come that way, and that we have a fondness for each other. Therefore, came with you know, you would have felt that with the love. But what you heard is just who you were, you know, who you are, and that's all we would have pointed you back to, who you truly are.
I know, but I think that when you're like within my family, I'm like a strong character, and you know, you always get that like from my parents. Well, you know, you're the strong one, or even from my friends, from anyone. When you speak a lot of, or you give a lot of help and advice to people, you're a strong character. People seem to forget that sometimes you need a bit of that back. You know, that it's not because you come across as being strong that you don't need it. Yeah, actually you do. Everybody does. Everybody needs to feel that. It's not like I didn't need it to be to sort of like reconfirm who I was, but I just needed it for me to know that it was all right being me. And it was a lot of how my thoughts were so muddled up of how I was perceiving me when that wasn't how I was at all, or even how I felt, how my mum felt about me, how my dad, you know what I mean, the relationship I had with my sister. There was a conversation that you and I had once in a restaurant when we'd gone into Granada, and you kind of said to me, you know, it's not true. And it was just simple things. I thought, you know what, you're right. It was, to me, as simple as those realizations, that everything was just created here, how we get carried away with those muddled thoughts. But it's almost like, because that's how we've been conditioned for all that time. And it was like a ball of string that is all together, and it was just about unwinding it and realizing that no, it's not like that. It's not solid. You can unravel it.
And isn't that like, Sam, 50 years, you know, you'd sat with that. Or you know, if we've sat for something like, we think that another sibling is loved more, or another sibling was wanted more, or you know, our parents prefer, or whatever. These are just the things that come up again and again and again, you know. And when we get to see, that's not true. My dog can hear your dog barking. She's got her little, I can see her little ears have just popped up. Cookie's like, she's barking, and she doesn't know where it's coming from. It's cute. So you know, that's how it is, Sam. You know, what a relief, right?
Yeah, what a relief. So, you know, with having kind of shifting that and leaving that there in Spain and coming back, and obviously things unraveled in my personal life. But then they got back, you know, things worked out from that. But it was such a relief. I just felt like I'd unraveled that, or, you know, like it felt like I came with a load of stuff in a backpack. And then when I left, I just left all that unwanted baggage there and came home. And definitely in my everyday life now, I would kind of sit back. I've started a new job, and the manager that I work with there, to me, she doesn't manage how I would manage. She doesn't look at human beings how I look at human beings. But maybe 5 years ago, that was me, you know, and that is just who I would not want to be anymore. And from my way of thinking now, that's really helped me, like just think differently to how I would have felt or thought back then. And her and I have had a little bit of a confrontation, and I could have quite easily have blown up and dealt with it in a way that I would have dealt with it. However, I chose not to, completely did the reverse, and it worked out so much better for me because I felt so much better for that, rather than carrying a lot of anger or sort of reacting in a way that I would have reacted. I didn't. And I just feel like I'm using it in my everyday life, just looking about things differently.
It's amazing because, you know, it's very dramatic when we're a bit out of sorts, or when we're in the confusion, when we're in the misunderstanding.
Yeah.
When we don't realize that we create our own feelings, it really looks like it's coming from the outside, right? Like that's how it looks. Like the outside is making us, you know, that lady's you know, management skills are not good enough, and that makes me this or that makes me that. And no one's saying that it's not happening. No one's saying no, she's a brilliant manager, you know, but it is what it is. Her skills will be coming out from doing the best that she can do from wherever her understanding or her training's at, or her head's at, or, you know, so there's something happens where, like that for you, instead of going all in with the, you know, with the wow, it's like we step back a bit, and just, it doesn't mean that you can't be helpful or stand up for yourself, or stand up for the team or the staff, or propose changes or something, but it seems to come with a bit more grace.
Absolutely.
There's a polishing happens, you know, there's a polishing where we don't have the I'm right, you're wrong, or I wouldn't do it like that, or I can hear my voice in that, if you should do it the way the blah 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 blah. We kind of sit back and see there's a bit more of a oneness thing, where we kind of think, okay, if she's doing the best that she can, maybe, I don't know, okay, how can we help her, or how can we be part of the team, you know?
Yeah, I just didn't want to. There was another conversation that we had that was like, you know, by her upsetting me, or by me allowing myself to get upset, because she wasn't upset, I was getting upset. I was reacting to the way she was. I was just giving her that power over me, and I decided to take it back. And since then, the relationship that we have now got is completely different than what it would have been if I'd have continued to have been at that loggerhead with her. Yeah. But I would never have done that 6 months ago. Yeah. That wouldn't have been me, you know? So, yeah, that whole understanding of my light bulb moment that I suddenly had has helped me immensely.
And that's just, you know, and that's amazing if one person gets touched in that way, that they've got gentler relationships, or a different, you know, life is easier, then that's sort of, it's all worth the while.
Yeah, that's, I like that. Yeah, life is certainly easier, because look, life is stressful enough, right? So, you know, with those outside influences, we don't need to make it any more difficult for ourselves than it already is. But yeah, I certainly feel a lot more at oneness calmer, which I needed to be. Yeah, and happier.
And keep looking in this direction, Sam, because life is just lifing, even life doesn't even really carry a stressful description. Life is just happening, and then we get to kind of decide whether it's easy, stressful, whatever it is to us. So there's always so much more to see, there's always so much more to look at, and that's why I was saying to me, even if you get the teeniest bit of what we're pointing to, that alone is enough to just have an impact on it. We get to see, really the question is, where do we believe our feelings are truly coming from? Where do we think our experience is coming from? And that's what we would have pointed to on the retreat, that the only thing that's ever really happening is that you're feeling thought in the moment. There's nothing else really happening, but it doesn't appear like that. Or if that's the first time you've heard that, it really looks like the outside has an influence on us, other people, situations, circumstances, events. And we get to see, oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. So when we get to see that that's not true, the implications are different. And when we believe that that's true, then we do go into, or the implications are more point towards stress and
absolutely,
and drama and insecurity. And that's where we get caught up. Then we get caught up in a little thing, like you say, at work. We come home and we don't feel good.
No. Yeah. So I come home feeling fine most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, because you're human. So then you forget, and it does feel like she drives you bonkers, or the dog does, or the cat.
I can't change that. I can't change the fact that every time somebody walks past, Ava has a little bark outside. That's life. But what I can change is the way I react to it. So and that's what I'm happy doing right now, and I'm so grateful every day that I had that little bit of enlightening that has helped me immensely.
Great. Well, isn't that lovely? And you naturally would just pay that forward, right? Your family benefit from that,
Absolutely, yeah.
Benefit from that. Everybody just benefits from that, and it can only it's quite a nice virus.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love virus. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to catch that and play with it and let it melt. I think there's something, that's what I see. There was a melting happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a softening of the character. There's a melting, a softening, a gentler kind of gentler experience, and that's good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sam, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the 1990. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for connecting, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Have you got your Christmas jumper on today?
I certainly have. Look, it's Christmas jumper day.
I didn't even know about that. There's been so much going on today, right? So I didn't realise it was Christmas jumper day, but I will have mine on next week. We're a bit behind in Spain.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll let you off.
Lots of love to you, Sam. Lots of love to everybody over there in Clacton-on-Sea, the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.